Ferguson has paid $421,000 in emergency response overtime. Nearby Florissant racked up another $131,000 in overtime and damages. The chief of Hazelwood contacted me after this report aired on News 4 this morning. He tells me his department paid out another $93,000. So as you can see from the math right here, that comes out to $22,600,898. That price tag is for police protection, the activation of the National Guard, and emergency relief for people who live in and around Ferguson. However, it does not include damages to any of the businesses or buildings that were burned or looted. Those two delivery drivers tell me that around 6:10 this morning, a worker inside that Steak and Shake came running out very frantic saying, "We just got robbed, we just got robbed." Those delivery guys, they're walking back in right now. They did not call 911. Obviously, someone else did. They had this officer respond. And then if we can come a little bit this way, there are also two officers parked right behind where we are. That is the auto zone next door. When we first got on the scene, they were walking around with flashlights. Looked like they were either looking for someone or looking for evidence. I did just talk to a police officer. I said, okay, so what types of things have people been ticketed for? He says, well, you know, when sometimes people have trash, they have a tendency to just throw it out their car. Well, he actually saw a little girl this week get out of a car with her mom, and she had some trash with her and walked all the way across the parking lot to throw it away. He also told me about a father out there with his 5-year-old son teaching him how to ride a bike for the first time. Probably got a little frustrating, but that dad stuck with it, taught that kid how to ride a bike. So he got a fine too. Very cool message, very positive and good message. And if you want something else that's looking pretty good today, check out this gorgeous sunrise happening here in Moline Acres. A very good morning here. We'll send it back to you guys. Since minutes after those police officers were shot just behind where we are standing, it's really no surprise that police were able to make an arrest. They vowed to do that as soon as this shooting happened. What is surprising, though, is the police are saying the person they have in custody has admitted to shooting those two police officers, but this investigation is far from over. There were so many shots fired. Right now, police are having a really hard time figuring out where each bullet came from. So let's get you right to the scene. You will see exactly what I am talking about. In this video, you are going to notice some yellow evidence markers. Those mark each of those shell casings. We counted between 20 and 30. As I was thinking about this story, I just kept thinking, you know, two things can really stink. First off, having your sewer back up in your home is one of them, but also having your monthly bills go up. That probably stinks too. Well, to make sure the first one doesn't happen, MSD is planning to do the second. MSD's rate proposal is twofold, and News 4 actually told you about this just a couple weeks ago. Andre Court will be back in session right here at City Hall tonight, actually in about 12 hours. It starts at 6 o'clock, and we can expect a very long night because, get this, 260 people are on the docket, and they'll all be in front of a new state-appointed judge. I just had a chance to speak with a sergeant here on scene. He tells me that this robbery happened between 6:05 and 6:10 this morning. That is right after this Steak and Shake opened. There's still two police officers on the scene, and right now they're looking for any fingerprints on the door here. But get this, that sergeant tells me that the employees inside said that the suspect ran out this door and then ran this way south behind that auto zone. Police are saying this is not some type of random shooting. Instead, it all stems from a relationship that has gone south. They are saying that an ex-boyfriend shot his ex-girlfriend. She tried getting away, lost control of her SUV, went through a fence, and nearly hit that home in North St. Louis. The ex-girlfriend is in stable condition at the hospital. The ex-boyfriend is in police custody. The police here are still trying to figure that out, and hopefully they are going to make some headway soon, because I have found out that they have at least one person in custody. And at this point, it has cost $22.5 million to deal with all the unrest here in this small town in just the last 7.5 months.
Only on News 4, we're getting a new look at how much the unrest in Ferguson is costing the state, area police departments, and ultimately you, the taxpayer. Our Laura Hettiger breaks down the numbers.
It's been more than 6 months since I started following the money trail in Ferguson, and since then I have contacted a lot of city, county, and state agencies, and I've spent a lot of time calculating the cost. Tonight, I can report that at least $22.6 million has been spent since August to deal with the unrest. Here's what that looks like on paper. The state has spent nearly $13 million. A big chunk of that went to the National Guard and the Highway Patrol. St. Louis County has spent $6.4 million, while the city of St. Louis has spent nearly $2.8 million. The cities of Ferguson, Florissant, and Hazelwood also incurred expenses, but not nearly as much. Ferguson has paid $421,000 in emergency response overtime. Nearby Florissant racked up another $131,000 in overtime and damages. The chief of Hazelwood contacted me after this report aired on News 4 this morning. He tells me his department paid out another $93,000. So as you can see from the math right here, that comes out to $22,600,898. That price tag is for police protection, the activation of the National Guard, and emergency relief for people who live in and around Ferguson. However, it does not include damages to any of the businesses or buildings that were burned or looted. I'm told it will be months before we can add all of that up. Of course, I will continue to follow this story and update you as I uncover new information. Laura Hettiger, News 4.
Yeah, police arrest a man they say shot two police officers outside the Ferguson Police Department. 20-year-old Jeffrey Williams is now in the St. Louis County Jail.
But the investigation far from over. Laura Hettiger joining us live in Ferguson this morning with the Bommarito Street Fleet with that part of the story. Laura.
And Emily, I've been covering this since minutes after those police officers were shot just behind where we are standing. It's really no surprise that police were able to make an arrest. They vowed to do that as soon as this shooting happened. What is surprising, though, is the police are saying the person they have in custody has admitted to shooting those two police officers, but this investigation is far from over. Let's go ahead and show you Jeffrey Williams. We do have his mugshot. He is 20 years old. He is behind bars this morning. He was arrested Saturday night. We do know he faces 5 felony counts, including 2 first-degree assault charges. However, Williams is allegedly saying he did not intend to shoot the officers. Instead, he says the bullets were actually meant for someone else. Either way, though, the county prosecutor says this investigation has a long way to go.
Whether there are other people ultimately charged, we have to wait and see. That's why we need the cooperation of the public, the rest of anybody with any information to come in. And again, this is a result of the public contacting the police department.
And speaking of contacting police departments, I've done just that already twice this morning. I've had a chance to speak with someone here in Ferguson and also St. Louis County Police. They both tell me, even though it sure doesn't look like it now, there were protesters out here on South Florissant last night. Sounds like the group was relatively small and pretty calm, though. There was no violence and no arrests. Reporting live in Ferguson, Laura Hettiger, News 4.
Only on News 4, we're getting a look at how much the unrest in Ferguson is costing the state, area police departments, and ultimately you, the taxpayer.
That's right. Our Laura Hettiger has been following the money trail for months. She is live in Ferguson with the Bommarito Street Fleet. And Laura, you have some eye-opening numbers this morning.
I sure do, Emily. And at this point, it has cost $22.5 million to deal with all the unrest here in this small town in just the last 7.5 months. To get that number, I contacted a lot of departments over the last few days, and I did a lot of math. So let me break it all down for you right now. The state has spent nearly $13 million. That is for the National Guard and the Highway Patrol. St. Louis County has spent $6.4 million. The city of St. Louis has spent nearly $2.8 million. And the cities of Ferguson and Florissant also incurred some expenses. Ferguson has paid $421,000 in emergency response overtime, where nearby Florissant racked up another $131,000 in overtime and damages. So all of that comes out to a grand total of $22,507,898. That is for police protection, the activation of the National Guard, emergency relief for the people who live here, and a slew of other things. But that does not even come close to the amount that the businesses, the damages that all of the businesses here have incurred. It'll take months to even find that number. All of that, though, is a very costly response for that hands up, don't shoot narrative. Reporting live in Ferguson, Laura Hettiger, News 4.